All right. Thank you for joining me back. I appreciate you. If you are returning, welcome back. If you're just coming in, welcome. There are a couple of videos previous to this. If you see this crazy looking shirt and be sitting with these shades, go check out those other two videos because they will give you a little bit of backstory about where we're about to go so I don't sound completely crazy with what I'm getting ready to say. So, for those, like I said, if you want a quick up to speed, Spirit checked out my hearing to make sure I was tuned up good because I've been working on my clairaudience. I've had a struggle with learning to accept and believe in my own clairaudience. That was one of the reasons I was led to tarot in the first place, was to confirm my clairaudience, and Spirit just, yeah, it worked out that way. So, I've gone through a week full of readings. I keep hearing release your ex. Readings that I'm being led to from other readers start unfolding this story that, as much as I did not want to accept it, I had to stop and think about it. And when I realized the ex they was talking about releasing, I immediately did so. And the ex was truthfully somebody that I had forgotten. I ain't gonna say I forgot. I had forgiven so completely and allowed in my space, back into my space, not as a romantic partner, but as a friend. That when they kept saying release your ex, I didn't even think of that person as an ex. When when Spirit sat me down, and I do understand that's exactly what happened, I made a decision that changed the trajectory of my life when I decided to come back to Sarasota. And I did it for the right reasons. I moved in with my baby daddy ex back in 2016 because by that time my daughter was living with him and some things were going on. I was trying to make things better. It was greatly unappreciated, but that's neither here nor there. I made the decision to try to help. I did it. I can't say I regret it because truthfully, it was the emotional stress of that time period and trying to figure out some things that catalyzed my spiritual growth. I sat down and started making up my mind that I wanted to learn how to meditate consistently in 2016. At the end, like towards October 2016 or so. By 2017 March, I had come to understand. I was beginning to undergo a transformation. I didn't understand what it was all about or how spiritual it was going to get or any of the rest of that, but I knew something was happening. But 2018, right before a serious tower moment hit, that Spirit literally ripped me away from that situation, my life changed overnight because baby daddy gambled away all of my money and literally left me homeless overnight with 2 suitcases and a storage tote. But that's another story. I ain't even bitter about that because I have a beautiful friend that immediately said, yo, sent me a plane ticket, come, you got somewhere to go, a place to be. I've been allowed to come and heal here. It was a safe space, so I truly appreciate that. I'm not saying any of that to go down a bitter memory lane, quite the opposite. However, what I didn't think about was in 2018 when I started asking to work with learning unconditional love and forgiveness and all that, Spirit led me back to a very dear friend that I'm still friends with. And we laugh about it because she's not even on, we're not on the same spiritual trajectory, so to speak, but we have managed to jump timelines together somehow. And I know we've jumped timelines because the original, she's my own personal Mandela effect. The original story of how she told me she came to have her name, she doesn't even remember that now. She has a completely different backstory to how her mother came to name her the name that she named her. And I'm not going to say her name on this video because I haven't had her permission to tell that story. But we almost got in an argument about it because I'm like, why would I have made that up? I've heard you tell people that too many times. And she was like, I never said that. So I know we're in different timelines, but she's one of the people that has survived the jumps, and we're still in the same timeline and same basic reality. But another person that came along with was somebody I wasn't supposed to take that ride with. In 2018, I had an ex of mine that I had forgiven, but in fact, we dated for 2.5 years. He dumped me while I'm standing in a parking lot at my son's basketball game. He dumped me over the phone, never really gave me no real explanation. Now, he's apologized for it plenty of times since then in the recent years, but for 15 years, or 10 years rather, no apology, no nothing, kind of radio silence. When we had gotten back to a point where if he had whatever, he would call every now and then, and we were friendly, but he was living his life, and fine, no problem, I'm doing the same. But in 2018, I get a call that he had some health issues. He's legally blind, always was, even when well, not always. He's a Stevens-Johnson's patient, survivor. But when I met him, he was legally blind. But in 2018, for about a week, he went completely blind. And he called me at his darkest hour when he had been literally sitting in 3 days of darkness in his house. And he reached out to me. And because he was in spiritual need, and I'm kumbaya, hugging trees, all of this other stuff, I didn't think anything of it. I allowed the relationship. We became friends. We basically kept each other company through our hermit modes. I've been in hermit mode for 5 years. And I'm not saying I stayed in hermit mode that long because I was friends with him, because I had a lot of healing and growing to do. And truth be told, he helped me do some of it. He helped me see who I really am in a way that I couldn't as part of the calling on my life to speak and all that. I never gave myself credit for being able to do what Spirit was calling me to do, or I didn't think I was coming up on as ready as I am, because my throat chakra has been completely blocked. I know what I'm supposed to do, sort of, kind of. I've gotten to a point where I finally kind of figured that out, but I was remaining stuck, and I didn't understand why. So, and discussing all of this with him, now that's the real kick in the head, because we've been such good friends. We pray together, we talk about a lot of stuff, but the past several months, some things have started to kind of play out in my mind, and I try to speak to him about it, and he always explain away whatever he had to say, or whatever, to let me know how off base I was in my thinking, to talk me off the ledge, so to speak, about things that he was still allowing in his life. Because I'm like, dude, you can't really manifest from that place. But he was, always had an explanation as to why it wasn't what I thought it was, or why he had to do certain things a certain way. And so this past Sunday, this is rocked on. Like I said, my readings kept saying release the X, and they kept saying it, and I'm seeing this uncomfortable King of Wands energy popping up in the middle of what's going on with my divine counterpart, King of Swords, Emperor Hierophant, to my Empress High Priestess sort of thing. But this King of Wands is still in the middle of all of that. And then the cards kept coming with false person, thief, snake. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Death, rebirth, coffin, thief, snake, false person, just kept coming up. I'm like, whoa, I get it. Say less. I'm talking. He finally called me one day, and I didn't want the conversation to go that way. I thought I was going to be kind and bring it gently and do a reading so he could see the cards for himself, since he didn't want to believe what was coming out my mouth. But we got to talking a couple weeks ago, and whatever happened in the conversation, it was like a trigger, and I wasn't nasty with it. I tried to be as kind as I could, but I ended the friendship right then and there on one phone call. We're done. Period. because Spirit had already showed me I can't go any further with this. A high priestess, divine feminine, that's trying to call in an emperor, her divine counterpart, cannot drag her ex up to him. Hey, how you doing? Want to meet him? Now here, this man had me convinced that we were such good friends that when I go to meet this man, because my twin and I are in separation, we met long distance online, and every time we tried to make arrangements to come together, we couldn't. Something always happened. Life felt, the pandemic, all sorts of things happened. So we have been in separation this whole time. We're making plans to come together. Our finances are starting to heal so that we could see that it could start happening. But all these little roadblocks kept happening, and Spirit let me know they were going to keep happening until I tidied this up. So I did what I needed to do. Say less, Spirit. Sorry, dude. We can't be friends no more. And he was like, well, I don't agree. And all. It don't matter whether you agree or not. I've been let know, as much as you're my friend, you're still my karmic soulmate ex. And I can't walk forward with that. So after I did that, my readings started repairing. They started getting better. The energy was a little better. I still see a little bit of kick, but it would be sequestered in the readings. Like, this is where you were. This is what you can do about it. This is where you're heading once you do what you need to do. And that was fine because I know I'm being called to read for the collective. I put a few videos out there, but I had been so stuck that I just really didn't feel like I could read for other people because this was kept coming up. So I needed to clear that. So I went ahead, did what needed to be done. The reading started getting better. And I wasn't sure why I did it, but last week or so ago, I ordered 2 spiritual baths. Now, I've been doing salt baths on my own. My mentor showed me how to cleanse my aura. I've even talked about it in videos, I think somewhere on the channel earlier here. I'm sorry, I keep getting notifications. I put my phone in airplane mode. I don't know why I'm still getting all these notifications, but anyway, hopefully we're good here. I didn't want to keep watching it, but my guides let me know that the salt and the things that I was doing on my own weren't enough. So I found myself ordering these 2 baths. Didn't think about it. Went on about my business, and I also ordered a new tarot deck that I had been looking at for a while, but it's dramatically different than any other standard tarot deck. But I was moved to order the tarot or the Orishas. So this past Sunday, after I did all of that, like I said, I hadn't even thought about ordering the baths yet. I get up every Sunday morning, most Sunday mornings, I ain't gonna say every because I do get caught slacking and it bites me, but lately I've been trying to stay on it. I went ahead and my Sunday morning routine, I come right out here, right where we're at. I'm sitting right now, but I'll start with a prayer, burn some ancestor money. I got my candles, my incense, all that going. And then I migrate out a few feet over, out into the grass, and I sit and I meditate barefoot in the yard. So I did all of that. When I tell you this situation with my ex was nowhere in my mind, I clear slate Sunday morning. I'm sitting out here thanking the ancestors and the angels and the guides, asking for Archangel Michael to be with me and Raphael. I'm having a moment with Yeshua. Everything is beautiful. I go sit out there in the yard. I'm singing. I'm on mantras, people. I'm up in the Himalayas somewhere singing Tibetan mantras. Okay? And all of a sudden, the ancestors crashed the reading. And when I say, I know it was the ancestors because the whole temperature and tone of the meditation changed. And it was old black grandmama voice that came to me. And they were like, I can't even repeat it all here. Well, I'm going to say it. But the N word came up. It was like, don't you send it. Because I was feeling guilty. I'm thinking, if only he understood why I had broken this off so suddenly. it would be better. If only if he could see what I'm seeing in these cards, if he could see the other videos that other readers are coming up with, maybe he would change his way. Maybe he would see and be able to heal and understand, because they let me know he dealing his own fair share of karma, and karma is whooping his behind right now, spiritually, physically, financially, all of it. But he can't see that part. He gonna stay stuck until he heals. So little Pollyanna goody me wanted to, well, maybe if I send him the video links, then he'd be able to see it and heal. The ancestors came in with a quickness, and they literally brought, it was like, I'm clairaudient. I'm not usually clairvoyant, but in this instance, it's almost like they pressed a scene into my head and let me know. Number one, he knew exactly what he was doing. He's trying to fetter your energy. He low-key trying to manifest you. And if he can't manifest you, he's trying to keep you from your manifestations. He know what he's doing. His hands aren't clean. Don't you send that nigga nothing. Don't feel bad. Walk away. Go live your life, because you can't. I was flabbergasted. I didn't want to believe that. They were like, this dude done spell work over you. Whether he wants to admit that it's formal spell work or not, the power of the mind is strong, and I helped this fool level up. I've taught him other methods of manifestation. I've taught him about manifesting from the moon cycles. Now, he knew about some of it before, because I didn't realize that he was focused those ways. He didn't directly lie to me about things, but he hid certain things. So he's a lot more into a lot of this stuff than I knew. But like I say, I know what I taught him. So if he add even a little bit to what I taught him, yes, he been doing spell work over me, and I didn't even know it. But Spirit brought it to my attention. It was like, why do you think that we had you go get that John the Conqueror? Why do you think we had you go get that black chicken? Why do you think we had you go get them 7 African powers? Now, I'm not doing spell work. I'm not cutting up and sacrificing nothing. That's not my spiritual walk. I've been shown why. Yes, I know I've been high priestess and shaman and probably high level witch in several lifetimes. I've been killed for it in several lifetimes. This go around, I am a generational curse breaker for several different karmic cycles, including some ancestral lineages that abused spiritual or magical powers, if you want to call it that way. So this walk around in life, I was plunked into a very traditional, foundational, or whatever if you want to call it, religion. Fear was put into me from that, and even once I broke apart from that, this walk in this lifetime, everything that I had to do has to be natural magic. It's only me and Spirit. I'm walking with Yeshua and the power of prayer and the power of angels. I cannot do incantations. I cannot do spell work. But they did let me know what I can do is them spiritual baths to break them bonds up off of me that people been trying to put over me my whole life. And so that's what I did. Now, while I'm sitting there with the ancestors, they also took me back mentally to something. Is again, here come the obedience better than sacrifice part coming back into play, because they were like, now it's time for you to sit with the Baron. Now, if those of you don't know, the Baron is a reader on YouTube. Definitely go check him out if you haven't ever. He is the real deal, y'all. He is the reader that I was led to when Spirit literally had to begin to show me my clairaudience and this part of the path that I'm supposed to walk. In meditation, I had sat down and asked if any of the ascended masters or guides were willing to work with me, if they would come forth and let me know. Immediately, Yeshua, Saint Germain came forth. Saint Germain let me know we were going to do some big things together. I was led to Master Dwal Kul and an initiation study group after that. I wasn't even sure I had passed the initiations until I started having all of these spiritual experiences. I went through a meditation course that we'll get into all of that later. I got to get ready for work in a little bit here. But long story short, when it came time for me to start listening and tuning up, as afraid of tarot and spiritualists and all that as I still was on the tail end of religious programming, the Baron was the one that I was led to. And as I watched him read, it helped me understand and get rid of the fear, but it also helped me see that he was legit. He was pulling stuff out, information that he had no way of knowing out of people, stuff they didn't even want to admit, but they had to. So I was like, oh. But admittedly, I've been called to different collectives and stuff. I have not listened to the Baron's readings in probably a year or two. And especially since I started reading for myself, there's certain readers I get led to, but I'm working full time now. I'm reading for myself. I'm starting to read for friends and family. I don't have time to sit around and watch tarot all day, so I hadn't been watching them. But all of a sudden, on the tail end of this conversation, my guys are telling me, book an appointment with the Baron. Now, when I first met him, I saw the value that he was real. I didn't want to book an appointment with him at that time because I didn't want him digging around in my personal raggedy life like that. Now, I get he's going to see on this part, but quite honestly, I am sensitive about my twin. I don't want to hear nothing weird. And truthfully, I doubted my own clairaudience in such a way that I went through something yesterday that caused me to look